Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have liftoff.
Hi guys, I'm Rochelle Humes and this is Ladies Who Launch. Each episode will dive into the journeys of aspirational women who started from scratch and built their dreams into thriving empires. These are the founders, the risk takers, the go-getters that are changing the landscape and making their mark in the world of business. We're here to celebrate their wins, dive into their challenges and share the invaluable lessons they've learned along the way. Ladies Who Launch is about sharing the inspiring stories that could empower you to take your own leap. So get ready to be uplifted by the resilience, creativity, and unstoppable determination of today's most extraordinary women. This is your girls group chat for business and beyond. My guest today is known for being a powerhouse entrepreneur, having co-founded a swimwear empire that disrupted the industry. With an unapologetic drive and passion for empowering others, she's proven time and time again that she's a force to be reckoned with. Please welcome to the podcast, Natasha Oakley. Just a quick one before we start. If you like listening to this episode, which I know you're going to, please like it and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to share it to your group chat. I'm so pleased you're here. I'm so pleased we managed to make this happen.
Same. I'm so excited.
And the dates just aligned perfectly.
But also, you were born to have a podcast, and I'm so excited that you're doing one.
Thank you.
Honored to be here as
we
well.
have absolutely loved it. I'm just enjoying hanging out with great women every day. It's like my dream.
Yeah.
I always like to start way back when, because I think, those that don't know you, just to get a real sort of feel of how you are the Natasha that we know now. It sounds to me like you were destined to be an entrepreneur, that you have had real sort of strong female influence around you. Mm-hmm. Your mum building her own business. Do you think that did have an impact on you?
Absolutely. So I think that one of the best kind of internships I ever had was just being a child and watching both of my parents run their businesses. I think it gave me a really unique insight into that was the world that I lived in, and that's what I looked at in terms of work and a career, and that's what I had insight on. So to me, it probably was something I was always destined to, because that's what I really knew. And I always say that those phone calls in the car when my mom was, on a call for 45 minutes and I was sitting in the back seat like this, so bored, like out of my mind, being like, God, this is so boring. But imagine all the things I was absorbing through that, and being at her office in the afternoons. And my dad's also a entrepreneur. He's a private detective and has his own business. So I just grew up really watching what it took to run your own business, which I think is one of the most interesting insights you can have. Not even just necessarily the ins and outs, but just knowing how much work it is and being prepared for that from such a young age. It really set the bar really high for me and made me kind of aspire to have it and be like, I always looked at my mom going to work in her suit and just thought, oh, she's so cool. Like, she's such a girl boss. Like, just, before the girl boss thing was even a thing. Like, I really was literally looking at her like a girl boss and being like, wow, I'm so inspired by her. And my dad as well was obviously a huge inspiration to me too. So, yeah.
It's so nice to hear that, because I think as a working parent myself, you think, oh gosh, the poor kids, I've been on a Zoom in the car as we're driving from, school to dance club or whatever. But actually it's really nice for you to say that actually it's a good thing to absorb and actually sort of learn that work ethic from a young age.
Yeah, and it's not something that everyone has the opportunity to have exposure to. And I think that, people have to go to college or get actual internships and, learn through all different ways. But when you have that exposure from a young age, it definitely does give you a unique skill set and, that insight that some people, it's hard to be in the inside of a business and really know what's going on within it and hear even those conversations that as an employee or an intern you may not hear. So I think I was absorbing a lot from a really young age and always wanted to be a girl boss. I didn't know what I would want to do, but I just really rolled with it, and here I am.
I was going to ask you, was it clear, the job title, the job role, the ambition, was that clear to you, or was it just that I want to feel powerful?
It was never clear. It was never about anything in particular. For me, it was just always about passion and momentum. And I wrote my book Excessively Obsessed because everything we're going to talk about today is probably also in the book, because I feel like it's such an important subject. And I think that in this day and age, you know, the spirit of entrepreneurialism is very well and alive. And it is an amazing time to be an entrepreneur, but it's also something that a lot of people are aspiring to, and they have no idea what they're really getting themselves into. So for me, it was such a natural progression, which I think is really beautiful. And I'm very happy that it happened that way for me, because a lot of people, I think, are trying to force something that's either not meant to be, or won't actually make them happy, or they just don't actually understand what they're getting themselves into. And, you know, I'm all about jumping into the deep end, jumping off the cliff, out of the plane, whatever, just going for it. But you also do need to be aware. And like I said, I had that exposure. I knew what I was getting myself into. I knew, you know, how much I would have to work and the sacrifices I would have to make. So whenever I went into whatever it is that I was doing, it was really just about maintaining this really amazing feeling of momentum in my life.
Right.
And just continuing and working hard and finding the things I feel passionate about and being intuitive. And it was just like this road that I kind of went on. And I never had one thing in particular in mind that I wanted to do. I didn't know I wanted to be a designer. I didn't know I wanted to be a CEO. I didn't know I wanted any of these things. But I definitely think that I prioritized my career, you know, not over everything else in my life, but it's always been very equal for me to relationships, family. I really appreciate independence. So it was just those things of passion, momentum, wanting my own independence and knowing what it took to get that. Those things, as soon as I prioritized those things in my life, everything really fell into place.
Yeah, and I suppose it is just following that fire, isn't it? And constantly doing so.
Yeah.
So let's go back to Bikini A Day, because I remember this so
The cutest little business in the world.
It was genuinely, it was just
It was
so
cute.
Genius.
Yeah.
So this is a platform that you co-founded with Devin, who is your best friend.
Yes.
Which you are so lucky that you have this friendship. And
Luckiest girl in the world.
you have the friendship and you've built this incredible business together. At that point, were you and Devin already influencers when you stumbled upon this, or was it the other way around?
So we were. I think we had about like 17,000 followers when we started a Bikini A Day on our personal profile, something around that. And it was definitely right in the very beginning of Instagram. We started a Bikini Day in 2012, and it was kind of off the back of us. Devin grew up in Maui. I grew up in Sydney. We were beach girls. I also had moved to Hawaii and then to California. So our whole life just revolved around the beach. So everything we were putting on Instagram was related to bikinis. You know, some girls like shoes, some girls like bags. We were just like, every dollar we had, we would spend on a new bikini. And that was just something that we loved. And we also just love everything about the beach lifestyle. You know, it's like, it's something that grounds you, and it's very positive, and it's very like nurturing, and I don't know, everything that surrounds the beach lifestyle to me has a very positive connotation.
Oh, what is not to love about
I
a beach
know,
life?
right?
I'm always chasing that beach lifestyle.
Everyone
honestly.
is. So yeah, it was just something that like, you know, kind of happened naturally because we were just posting in bikinis every day. And at the time, everyone was just kind of posting scenic shots or a coffee cup or whatever. Yes. And they were like, stop posting in your bikinis. My God. Like, it was before anyone was posting in bikinis. So it's very different to what it is now. Yes. And I just, one day in our apartment together, I was like, you know what? We should just post a bikini every single day and like make it a thing, because, you know, everyone was kind of like recognizing that that was our thing at the time. And we were like, we'll just call it a Bikini A Day. And then
it's genius.
And then we got all of our bikinis. We had about 30 bikinis each at the time. I had a production company. That's what I was doing at the time. And I was actually shooting campaigns and video campaigns for swimwear brands.
Right, okay.
And so we went down to the beach and used all my professional equipment and shot each other. And then the next day we sent out terms and conditions to all the brands that we knew and said, it's $100 a post if you'd like to be featured on a Bikini A Day. And we featured 365 bikinis, you know, every single day of the year. And it was just the cutest thing ever. It was one of those concepts that I even remember I spoke to a family friend who was a businessman, and I was so excited about this concept. I was up till 2 a.m. Devin was still in college, so she was kind of shooting with me and doing things on the side. And I was up till 2 a.m. every night kind of building this little business. And I remember this businessman was like, I think you should just be going to college. I don't think this is going to go anywhere. But for us, it was something that, even now I would probably, if I was him, agree with what he was saying.
Really?
But at
That's
the same,
interesting.
I know, and that's why I'm like, in my book I talk about, I'm not even a person to give someone advice on what they should do or what's going to do well or not, because what it comes down to is your passion.
Yeah.
And just doing something that even if it fails, you won't regret it because you loved it and you enjoyed it. And it's just something that you needed to do because you were so passionate about it, right? But the concept at the time, okay, posting a new bikini every day. That's why I'm always like, it's the cutest thing that this just took off. It became one of the largest marketing platforms in the swimwear industry. We were like, you know, at Miami Swim Week every single year, like the stars of the show. And it was just like such a beautiful little thing that came out of something that Devin and I were genuinely so passionate about. And I love those beginnings. You know, I love those things where it's not because we weren't in it for the money. We weren't in it for, you know, the clout, or we weren't in it to become someone. We just actually were like doing something we really, really loved.
You were passionate about it.
Yeah. And that is the best way to start something. And if you're not having that feeling, you definitely do have to kind of think twice, because in business, you really do get to a point 5 years in where you go, wait, what am I doing here? Like, am I running this for the rest of my life? Am I selling this business? What is my prerogative? If I sell the business, what do I do after? You know, like there's so many questions that come with going down that path that I think is so important to think about and talk about. And if you talk about all those things, or you read my book and you're still wanting to start a business, then go for it.
And also, if you've not got that fire and you've not got that excitement or passion, like you say, 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, when it's hard,
you're like taking a breath.
What is, if I'm not passionate about this, it is exhausting.
Absolutely exhausting. It's 7 days a week. I do have to be available every hour of the day. And, you know, my teams are in New York, LA, Sydney, in London. They're always traveling. I'm on every time zone of the world. And if I didn't love what I do, it would really, really probably drag me down and not be a positive thing in my life.
Of course.
So we're so lucky that we stumbled across something we genuinely loved, and that also was just actually a really great business with great margins and all these things that, you know, we didn't actually know about any of that when we started.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
you wouldn't,
and we
would
got
you?
into swimwear. We're just lucky that we started something that actually had legs and was like a really smart thing actually to get into.
So you build this kind of ever-growing platform, a Bikini A Day. You're gaining that traction.
Yes.
At what point do you and Devin talk to each other and say, do you know what? We are promoting everyone else's swimwear.
Yeah.
This is what we are known for. This is our thing. At what point do you go, okay, Monday Swimwear needs to be born?
So what's so funny is we still continued to have a Bikini Day and promote other people's swimwear for quite a long time after starting Monday.
That's
because
interesting.
we still think there's room for everyone. I think the swim industry especially is not like other fashion industries. It's not as competitive and cutthroat. It's actually just really fun. So like even all the other swim brand owners, we knew them at Swim Week. We would go to their shows. Like we love everyone in the industry. We're not like competitive, or we weren't thinking like, you know, we want to have our own label, or this is what makes sense next. It was purely born out of the fact that in everyone's swim collections, we would find maybe one bikini that we loved, and that's what we would feature.
Right.
But it was very, very hard to find a brand that actually had really good quality, timeless, amazing suits that fit all different body shapes, all different cup sizes. All the suits would have clasps on the back, but then Devin's like, you know, it was a triple D cup, and then the back wouldn't fit her, and we'd have to tie it in the back. And like, it just, even at the time, like the tops and bottoms were coming in a set as like small, medium, large, whatever, you know, and that was
always my worst.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of like, you know, diversity in the ranges, and there just wasn't one brand that we could go to that we were like, everything in this brand is something we love. And I think even when you go shopping these days, you know your brands that you could walk into the store and find 5 things that you love. And then there's other brands that you walk in at any given time and you might not even like one thing that's in there. But we really wanted Monday to kind of be like the Calvin Klein of swim, where every summer it's your go-to brand. Every single thing in the collection is amazing. We think it's an essential. It's something that's timeless. The quality is amazing. You know, we use recycled materials. Just all the things that we knew we wanted in a brand. We wanted to create that. Yeah. And we still like celebrated other brands for as long as we could whilst it still made sense. And then eventually, you know, Monday took over and we were just like, nothing's as good as Monday now. So we just got to roll with Monday.
It is so good. And you know, I've told you this time and time again. They're my staple bikinis.
I always love seeing you in it.
every
Makes my
single
day.
trip. Honestly, I know. You know when you've got the thing, you're like, I'm just going to put this on because it looks
Yeah.
right with everything. That's exactly.
And I
how
know there's
feel.
probably even people that like shoot other things and then they go and take it off and put on
put
Monday
yours back
because they're
on.
just so comfortable.
Yeah, you're
and like
so
that's
right.
what we used to do. Like we were shooting things and then we would be like, oh, nothing feels as good as Monday, and then we just go put on our other suit. So
exactly that.
Yeah,
Well, they
now
say
we don't
you
wear
must
anything else.
Start a brand that you feel so passionate about. I think what is interesting to me is, I mean, I would say every woman that I've had sat in this seat, their fire and their drive, and I suppose their success story comes from a place of building something that they feel was missing.
Yes, a necessity of their own.
Exactly that. And that is, like you say, exactly what you've done. It's not it wasn't like, this is the brand that I'm coming for and I think we should do something a bit more like this. There was nothing like Monday at the time.
There wasn't. And honestly, I don't think there is still, honestly. Like we really take so much care in what we design, in the fabrics that we choose. We're wearing this every single day. When we go on a trip and it's a summer trip, we're only packing Monday. So we have every single thing in the collection that you'll need on vacation. And like you said, it's just so comfortable. Our beachwear, we didn't want it to be like stiff linens that, you know, crinkle in your suitcase and that, you know, maybe they're nice to wear out to a dinner, but can you actually wear it to the beach with a bikini underneath? Like everything is very surrounded around that kind of like European inspired, very relaxed, very elegant, timeless, but also something that like, we say there's the Monday moment when people try on Monday for the first time and they go, oh my God, this is the first time I've ever actually felt good in a bikini. And they like, we've had people come into our pop-ups and cry because they just have never ever had that experience where it's something that flatters your body and actually makes you feel good. And being in a bikini is a very vulnerable thing.
Oh,
we know
yes.
we're women, you know, we know the feeling. We know how it feels to be at the beach feeling like you're on literally a runway in front of everyone walking around. And we have the sarongs and the cover-ups and all the things that just make you feel comfortable in that situation. And confident, exactly. Like I think that a lot of people, you know, are too harsh on themselves and their bodies when they're putting on clothing that doesn't suit them. It's cutting in and digging in the wrong places. It's not actually something that's like accentuating their beautiful curves or their womanly figure or just them as a person. It's something that's like taking away from that and making them feel self-conscious or uncomfortable. And for us, we're like, if anything is digging in, if anything is making me feel not good about my body, then no one's going to feel good. So like we need everything to feel like it's just making you feel like your best version of yourself. And you need that at the beach because it is kind of like you're very exposed.
You feel like all eyes are on you and they're not necessarily at all, but
No,
it's just
they're
the way
not.
you feel when
They're
you're
not.
stripping down to not much.
I mean, I'm certainly not at the beach looking at people's bodies like that. And we always say, and that's what like a bikini a day was so beautiful for, is that we would always just say like the beach is meant to be a place that you go to just feel like happy and free. And it is not about how you look, but we do recognize that you put on a suit that makes you feel bad and it can ruin your whole day.
Of course.
Even just if it's digging in on your neck, it's not even about how you look. It's actually just like sometimes you're at the beach all day wearing this garment. So you want to feel like comfortable and like you can just feel really like, you know, confident and comfortable at the beach. So there's so many elements to now when we go to the beach, we're just so happy and comfortable and confident the entire time. We feel like sexy, we feel hot, we feel like our best version of ourselves. And like
you've changed the narrative.
Yeah, the
You've
day
changed
of the
narrative
denim
completely.
cutoffs and the little singlets and like, you know, the bikinis that are digging in, they're over.
No, thank goodness. Yeah, we don't want those days back.
Yeah.
Definitely
No.
not. And how amazing that you get to empower women as part of your everyday
It's such a
life,
blessing.
as part of your job. Like that is so incredible.
It's very special. We are so lucky, like I said, that we fell into something that we were so passionate about.
Yeah.
And it's luck and it's also not, you know, like we love women. We're obsessed with women. If you're beautiful on the inside, we really look at every woman and think, God, she's stunning. It doesn't matter what you look like. It comes from the inside. And we've just always been about, I swear our office is like a sorority. It's just like, but a good one, you know, like not like the Elle Woods version, but like it's honestly just like, I just love all the women that work for us so much. And we attract a very particular customer and a very particular employee because I think we're just all about that life of like, I don't know, just like lifting one another up as
and
women.
it feels very inclusive. Like from the outside, it does. When I watch everything via social media, it feels. And your campaigns are so inclusive. You do these incredible trips that that influencer trips that are just. It's really nice to watch it all play out, and it looks like a club that you want to be a part of. It doesn't look because when I think of swimwear and I think of gym wear, actually, I think, oh God, it can feel really intimidating. You know, when you start a new gym for the first time and you're like, oh gosh, do I know what I'm doing here? And is everyone looking at me?
Yeah.
That and swim has the same kind of feeling.
Absolutely.
But you do such a good job of sort of debunking that.
Well, I even think that, the trips that we go on, we become lifelong friends with every girl that comes on the trip. They all become friends. It's like we now have girlfriends that are like our absolute best friends in the world that come on like every trip with us because they're just such beautiful, positive people. And we even just attract the best girls on those trips. But I think even they sometimes can come to the trip feeling a little bit intimidated or what's this going to be like? And they're leaving. We've been crying on the trip. We're besties. It's been the best experience ever. And I think people can feel that. Like it's genuinely something that like we all have the best time. We lift each other up. And I think it does start with Devin and I. Like we consider each other's success a big part of our own success. And we are one unit, like I always say I have my husband and my wife and Devin's the wife. And like, we are really so connected in that whatever, if she's doing well, I'm doing well and vice versa. We really genuinely care so deeply about one another. We're always on the same page. We're so like positive to one another. We've never argued. It's such a unique thing. And I like to think that does kind of spread throughout everything that we do.
Well,
and
when
I
you're
think
leading
the
the company, of course, when you're leading and you have that relationship and that respect for one another, it's really important that everybody underneath you sees that.
Yeah.
I am always obsessed with the idea of concept to creation. It's something that I find so fascinating. So I want to kind of dig deep into how it all begun. Like you have this amazing platform, you then have the idea that actually there are certain things that you feel like problems that you could solve. What was your first step that you took into going about it?
So funnily enough, I talk about this whole story in my book because it's a very interesting one. We actually started Monday, the very first collection, as a collaboration collection with a manufacturer in Los Angeles that does many brands.
Okay.
So they had said to us, do you want to do your own range? And we kind of were like, yeah, why not? And actually it was a really great intro for us because obviously just starting out the very first collection on our own would have been pretty intimidating.
So almost like a licensing
it
proposition.
Was, yes.
Right.
So the first collection came out, it really kind of all went wrong actually.
That's
because we were so specific about what we wanted the brand to be, the name, the look of the brand, what the brand was about. But unfortunately when we partnered with someone, they had different ideas, or even, for example, we created a collection and it was exclusive to them, but they didn't buy certain pieces of the collection.
Right.
So even just taking that power away from us, we recognize that we're just way too passionate and way too specific about how we want to run our brand to be working with someone else. And it kind of blew up in a spectacular fashion.
As these things have
and
a way
I
of
talk
doing.
about it in the book, and we kind of walked out of the office after that first collection and that had come out, and we just said, well, now we're on our own. And it was kind of like, shit.
Yeah, because that's
what do we
scary.
do? Because we were not designers. We had no background in design. We had no idea what we were doing. We did have our first collection that we had created in our samples. So from there, we really were back to square one, essentially.
And I assume that when you sort of take up that licensing proposition, the risk, as in the finances, is normally with that manufacturer, that supplier.
Exactly.
So to then be out on your own, starting from scratch, were you worried about that? You knew you had to, but was it kind of a time of, oh shit, here we go?
I'm never worried about anything. There's definitely
That's amazing.
times that I've been worried, but it's a different kind of worry. I'm very I actually kind of thrive in those situations.
You're like me, and sometimes it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, exactly. Like I like to really like take the bull by the horns and just be proactive and be productive, and I don't ever see anything unless it's your health, I really think that every problem can be navigated. And I think that the most important thing as a businesswoman is knowing how to navigate those times and lead a team and make other people feel comfortable during those times. And I talk about all that in my book as well. Sorry to keep plugging it, but like I really go through every single
you sent
subject.
me your book, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah, no,
like
honestly,
it,
it's so important to consistently share that message.
Yeah, and I cover so much of this in it. So yeah, I mean, when it happened, it was definitely like, okay, here we go. You know, that was the feeling. But I just knew anything that you need to know in the world, you just can't be afraid to ask. You just ask every single person you know. You Google every single thing you need to Google. Now just use ChatGPT. Like just use every contact you have.
A lot simpler, isn't it?
Yeah, don't ever be intimidated by anything, because anyone can learn anything. Anyone can ask anyone for anything, and you just have to be afraid of, never be afraid of, someone saying no or
the fear of embarrassment.
Yeah.
We speak about that a lot.
And I also do find, like, particularly in the US where we had our business, there's definitely a real sense of people wanting to help one another. And I definitely feel like I had so many people along the way that were, and here in the UK and in Australia too, that were just so willing to help me and give me advice. And you just have to be like confident enough to really go out there and ask for what it is that you want.
Be ready to receive it. I think that's also important too.
Yeah.
How did you go about funding it initially? Because we talk about how hard women find it to receive funding, which is just wild. And it's still, and I don't know how the landscape sits stateside, but particularly in the UK, it's, when we talk about venture capital, it's like 1.7%.
No, I know.
And it's
crazy.
just outrageous. And that's a whole other conversation. But did you find that hard?
So for us, and firstly, I say anyway, you should avoid, having to bring on any venture capitalists or involve anyone in the business if you don't have to. It should be the last option, I think, because a lot of people don't realize that it's almost as important as a marriage. Like, you are getting into bed with someone, you are going to be doing business with them potentially for however long it's going to be, 5 years or for the rest of your life. And that is something in itself that has to be navigated and can be very difficult and can be your make or break for your business and for your mental health as well. So it's really important to know who you're getting into business with, and it's definitely something that should be the last resort if you have other options. So we actually took a personal loan out from a family friend of $30,000.
Right.
And as soon as our first collection launched, we were really lucky. We actually just paid it back immediately and didn't get anyone involved. And to this day, we're completely self-funded. So we were really lucky, like I said, that we chose an industry that had really great margins that allowed us to reinvest into our business. And we didn't actually get paid for the first 4 years from the company. So every dollar we made, we reinvested back into the company.
And I love that you say that, because I think there's this real kind of illusion that you launch a business, you get a shiny office.
Yeah.
You've got this power suit
People
and you're
want to
bossing
skip
around.
the Steve Jobs in the garage phase, and
Yes.
you can't skip that phase. I think it's really important to do things really economically and not just be thinking of it, as, the best packaging, the best office, having the team. We used every resource that we possibly could before doing any of those things.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to gauge, whether your business actually does have legs and so many other things, and build a really strong foundation before you just jump into all of those other things. And there's also a lot of pressure if you are, having people invest in your business. It's a lot of pressure
that's the other
to
side
know
of it.
that, it's going to perform, it's going to do well. You don't want to feel like you're letting people down if it doesn't. So we were very, very lucky. And we also had our influencer careers to subsidize as well.
Yes.
And help with, building our business, and just even the exposure of that. Like, our situation was very unique and we were very lucky in so many ways, but we also worked really, really hard from day one. We always took the brand very, very seriously. We always were very specific about what we wanted it to be. And, Monday, what it was in day one is still what Monday is now. It's just, it's an evolution, and it's always getting better and better, but we've never changed from, that very first kind of the message, the foundation of the brand, and all the things that we wanted it to be. It's still what it is today.
And at the start, how did it look in terms of, so you loan the money, you pay it back really quick, which is always the biggest relief in the world.
It was like, thank God, because
thank
you also
goodness.
don't know how things are going to go,
Of course,
and
of course, it's always a risk, isn't it? And you've got to sort of take that on yourself, but also you're borrowing that, so you've got that double risk,
Yes,
haven't you?
yeah.
So is your role at Monday Swim changed now to the role that you had first of all? Because at the start you're basically doing everything until you
we
can
were
make
doing
that
quality
first hire.
control,
Yeah.
packaging. Our entire apartment wasn't an apartment anymore. We had our bedrooms, which was our personal space, and then the whole rest of it was floor to ceiling boxes, shipped to us from our manufacturers. And at that stage we were doing the quality control. Like, it was just very mum and pop in the garage, like just very like low key.
Yeah.
But those were just the best days. We always think back to those, and it's just so cute and such a humble beginning, and it's such a nice place to start.
And you're probably not sure what's ahead of you, so it's so exciting.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
if you could fast forward and see you now, like.
But we also had no expectations. Again, like, we really did not. We didn't know if it was going to do well. We didn't care if it was going to do well. We were just so excited by the idea of doing it that, like, nothing else mattered.
There was no ulterior motive.
There was literally none. Like, we were living in our tiny little apartment, in LA, just the two of us. At the time, buying a fridge was exciting for us. Like, we didn't even know how we were going to pay our rent every month. Like, it was just like something that was just like so exciting to us. And I think that's so beautiful, rather than starting from a place of like, I want to make X amount, I want to have this or that. Everything we have now is like insane, and our lives, I just can't even believe it. It's something I never even would have actually dreamt for. Like, we didn't aspire to have what we have now, but I think that's the best way to be.
Of course.
I think you just need to go into it with like, the excitement and the passion, and zero expectations on what you want it to be. Work your ass off, have good intentions, have a great foundation. And, going back to your question about my role, I'm the CEO of our brand, and, that's something that I technically was since day one, but I was, packaging, doing customer service,
and a few other
quality
roles too.
control. Yeah, Devin and I were shooting our campaigns on one another. We didn't even have a team at all. And, these days we have 40 plus, team members, and I'm heading up very, very different things to what I was overseeing, every single department, all of our finances, all of our business strategy and, long-term strategy, day-to-day strategy. And it just goes on, as you would know.
Yeah, of course.
I'm like,
it's a lot. It is a lot.
Yeah.
So when you were in a position where you could delegate a little more, because there's nothing kind of, when you've been doing everything.
Yes.
To be able to sort of say, okay, that's the thing I'm going to step away from. What was the first role for you that the first person you hired? Who was that, and what did they do?
It really was just someone that was kind of on the operations and logistics side. I do think that, if you do want to be the CEO of your brand, or you want to be someone that's working, in the upper management, you have to learn how to delegate.
Yeah.
And you have to really be able to know how to attract the right people and really trust those people and empower them as well within their roles. I always say that, like, the beginning stages of a business are so exciting. I have this hat that I love and I want to start a business, and it's so beautiful and I'm excited about it and I'm a creative, but once that creative person has to become a team manager and deal with different personalities and working styles and communication styles, I read every book that there was on team management. I constantly was just reading business books and constantly leveling up. I didn't go to college. I didn't have, an education in, a degree in business. This is something that I had to learn on the go, but it's something that is very easy to do if you're passionate about it. And there's so many resources out there, but it is very important to recognize that if your role is evolving, you have to evolve with it.
Yes.
And you have to be very aware that it's not about everyone just like adjusting to you and how you are. Being a good team manager is recognizing that everyone is so different. Everyone has a different, even just the communication style. I say, like, being a manager is almost harder even than being in a relationship, because you really do have to, like, respect people and their boundaries and their communication style, and understand that you need to help someone find what it is that they're really good at. The same way that I, in my job, will gravitate towards the things that are my strong points and that I enjoy genuinely, and all of those things, you kind of have to apply that to other people.
You've got to find that.
Yeah, and you have to empower them within what they do. And that is an ongoing, never-ending thing.
Right.
Especially as your team grows. Like, managing a team is, like, the most complicated part of having a business, for sure. And just different personalities and things like that. And we're so lucky. Yeah, emotions. I mean, our team is all women. Okay, we don't have one man on the team. But I have to say, women are they're the best.
Oh,
They're,
of course.
Sorry, but they're just so highly organized.
Literally
and when they
the reason
are
this
good at
podcast
something,
exists.
it's like we have to know how to do a million things at once. Like men struggle to like multitask. It's like, I just find women as like, when you find the good ones, it's just like, wow,
Yes.
oh my God, it's amazing. And then men have their strong suits and their different things that they're good at. But I just love the emotional intelligence of a woman. I think that it's the way of the future in business because we really understand all the different elements of like, a human being and what's involved. And we can really apply those things to a business and make it not so cold and not so rigid. And, I think that's really beautiful, but you do have to like, I'm constantly learning every single day. And, one of my biggest things at the moment is with a growing team, how do I still, communicate with every employee to some degree, have a relationship with them, make sure that that feeling of what Devin and I have reverberates through the company as a whole and continues to.
Yeah.
On top of also having to do every other job that we have, and every other thing and all the customer facing things and, being worried about our customers and being worried about our team and the product itself and, the ever changing landscape of the fashion industry. Like there's a lot of pressure. I personally thrive in that situation. We've had the business 11 years now. Bikini A Day was since 13 years ago, and I had a business before that as well. So it's been probably like 15 years that I've owned a business. And, there's definitely days that I go, oh my God, this is like really never ending, is it? And then I'm like, thank God I love what I do. Thank God.
It goes back to what we said at the start. You have to love what you do
really
because
do.
On the days that you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
You've got to, no, hang on, it's going to be great tomorrow because this is, you've got to find that thing that's going to pull you.
Yeah.
Every single time you have to. What do you do on those days that everything does get a little bit on top? What do you do for yourself to switch off? Because like you say, you're always on call. It's a constant, it's 7 days a week. But what do you do to sort of take that time that brings you right back into it?
One of the first things I've always done is I just take everything day by day.
Right.
I kind of have this analogy that I'm not the best skier. I'm like a blue slope skier. I learned in my 20s, I'm a little bit scared and nervous. But when I look down a mountain, I'm scared shitless. Okay?
Yes.
So when I just look in front of me and I just take it bit by bit, that's when I'm like, I'm completely fine, So that's what I do is like, my schedule is so jam-packed and people think I'm literally like insane how much I travel, how much I do, how much I take on. But my way of doing that is I do say yes to most things, like almost everything. But I just also know like the power of a good night's sleep, the power of certain things that will re-energize me. And I'm in that day and I'm not procrastinating or I'm not anticipating what's coming up every day or thinking about the next week or the next month or the next year.
Not looking too far ahead because that's where that overwhelm
You'll give yourself anxiety. You just have to take it day by day. You have to look after your health and wellness, have a good routine that resets you and does allow you to kind of, that's something I talk about a lot in my book. The last chapter is completely dedicated to burnout and health and wellness and how important those things are because you are your business, especially in this day and age. Mm-hmm. And, I think it's so, so important to know your limits and your boundaries, especially as women with our hormones and all of the things, that we have to think about that honestly men don't scientifically, and it comes down to our hormones and our DNA. There are things that we do have to think about with our nervous system and our hormones. And it is important as a businesswoman to keep all those things in mind, especially once you become a mother and all of those things, which I haven't even gone there yet. So I don't know how you're doing it.
It adds a whole new layer. And I think it's very apparent that actually that is the important. So it's you've had this baby that you're
the
so
meaning
used
of
to,
life in
but
many
it's another
ways.
baby, and it's kind of puts everything into perspective again, which is nice, but also it adds a whole other curveball of actually I need to get on that flight for this, but I don't want to because I've got the school play, and it's kind of your priorities change. It just does, but there's a way of being and I say this a lot, and Emma Greed spoke about this really well, that actually that you're either the best mum that week or you've been the best CEO that week, and you've got to be okay with setting a boundary and setting a present of how that week's going to look.
Yeah.
This week I'm an amazing mum.
Yeah.
This week I'm an amazing, and being okay with that, and the team and the family and everyone being okay
And I
with
think
that.
whether you're a businesswoman or not, you're going to have those weeks, right?
Of course.
You know, like as a mum in general,
Yes,
from what I've
yes.
seen from all my family members and friends and
100%.
everyone around
And it
me
takes
has
a village.
babies. Yeah,
it takes a
does.
village, right? The same way it does in a business. It's not you, it's the team that are so crucial. It's exactly the same when you're
Yeah,
you're
and
raising
I
kids.
think that like having a business is much alike in the fact that it is
yeah.
never ending. It's something that as it grows, it only gets harder. It's not like actually, you know, it's not something that eventually gets easier. If your business is thriving and successful,
Yes.
you know, it's going to become harder and harder and harder. And, you know, I think that you can kind of apply the same
No, you can.
mentality.
I definitely
you know?
say that I've got 4 babies because,
Yeah.
you know, 3 children in a business. And
Yeah.
that is, it is.
And just, I'm sure it's the same for you, that you really do have to just take things as they come and try not to give yourself more worry than you
Yeah.
need to, and just like take it day by day.
100%. And I was joking about this the other day because my mum said on my tombstone, it's going to say, when I get this week out of the way, I'll be
Yeah.
okay. That's
Yeah.
literally all I say.
But you
These
always
2
think
weeks,
that
yeah.
it's going to be more chill. Like I always am like, you know,
Always.
this period. But for us, we have the northern and southern hemisphere, so it's summer all year round. And we have like, you know, high seasons all throughout the year. And I always think that things are going to chill out, and they don't. And then some days I just go, why do I keep saying, oh, after this? Because I'm like, that's not going to happen.
But you have to be that little bit delusional because it makes
Yeah.
you feel better.
Yeah.
Just get that bit out of the way.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
be fine. We'll be
And there's
fine.
definitely certain things in your job that feel more like work, right?
Yes.
There's certain things like, you know, for me, it's if I speak on like a panel in front of 1,000 people, I anticipate that more than I would with other parts of my job.
That's
And everyone has
interesting.
different things that they,
Yeah.
and I'm just kind of like, I just need to get this out of the way, you
Yeah.
know, because I know even if I'm actually not nervous, it just gives me anxiety. And I'm not even nervous. I know what I'm going to say, but it's still like kind of intimidating. So there's certain things that I'm like, once that's done, I'll be able to
It'll be
relax.
okay,
Even
yeah.
though I'm not relaxing, I'm still going to be working nonstop.
Mine's
Like I
in
just,
reverse to you.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, that's my most comfortable. I'm like, that is funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas like if I was going into a finance meeting, that's what I would be
Yeah.
like apprehensive about.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
What I think really shines, and I mean, even in this conversation alone, is your friendship with Devon. And I think when you are so close and you live with each other and you were best friends before this business is born, obviously it's only grown for you guys, which is
Yes.
brilliant. Was there ever a point that you were a little worried? Like my husband has this rule that he's like, I love my friends, I love my family, but we're never going to work together
Yeah.
because I'm so scared of ever kind of
Which is smart.
breaking that
Yeah.
relationship or going. But the way that I see that it works for you is, I mean, you must count your lucky stars every day, right? That this hasn't ruined a friendship, because there are times that I suppose that it has the potential to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I dedicated a whole chapter to this in my book as well, because I think that our friendship is a perfect, you know, scenario. And we're so lucky because it's like a cosmic thing that we found one another, and it's really the yin and the yang. And Devon is very chill and a very different person to me. We're so similar in so many ways. We really get each other and we worked well together, but we are also completely opposites. You know,
Right.
like Devon is so much more chill and relaxed and more, I don't know, I'm always like, you have the conversation if you have to be like really sensitive and nice, because I'm so straightforward, you know, and I love everyone. I try to be sensitive to everyone, but I'm like, she is so sweet and so kind and all those things, and knows how to really take a beat and really be like
Right.
really caring and really, and I am those things, but like you know, that's more of a strong point for her. And for me, it's like, I can have the more difficult
Direct.
conversations,
Yeah,
you know, and
yeah.
just in every single way, we balance each other out so well. You don't want too many cooks in the kitchen. You know, she has always been my biggest backer, my number one believer. She has built up my confidence as a businesswoman and been the best business partner I could ever have, because at every step along the way, she has really trusted my intuition and my leadership. And that is such an important role or important person to have as
Yeah.
a female entrepreneur, especially because she never made me question myself. She never made me question, you know, where I thought we should go next. And she allowed me to take risks, and she allowed me to, you know, everything we do, it's an experiment. And I'm always like taking note of what works well and what doesn't. But you have to be able to like not have someone putting any pressure on you that if those things don't work out, you know, it's an indication that you've done something wrong.
You need that trust.
Yeah, and there's just so much trust and love and respect between the two of us. And I think that sometimes people go into the business and two people are trying to do the same thing or thinking they have the same strong points. And I think that you really need to find a business partner that if you're the more finance business, you know, person and they're the complete opposite to you and they're marketing and creative, like that can work really well. And you have to genuinely trust them and their ability and their intelligence and trust them within what they do and give them that freedom. Because when everyone's trying to like constantly, you know, step on one another's toes and give like feedback on something that's not necessarily your thing, that's their thing. But we've just always been very like respectful of one another's things, you know, and our
like
roles.
you're plugging each other's gaps.
Exactly.
And that's what's important.
And we're just so lucky that that's how it works for us, you know. But I definitely think that partnerships is the hardest thing alongside with running a team, you know, or managing a team in business because it can go horribly wrong. 90% of the time it does. Not just, you know, initially. It's not about getting into something and it's all going wrong. You could have the business for 5 years, 10 years, and so much changes within that time. Or, you know, relationships or personal things, or you have families and like the expectations of the business and its future, or like just all these things that can come into play that you get thrown a lot of curveballs. And as a partnership, you need to be able to navigate all of those different times, and you have to have so much respect for one another and so much love for one another to really navigate those things well. And we've just lucked out, you know, and I definitely have other things I've invested in or other partnerships that I have that it's definitely like we're having to navigate, you know, it more than probably Devon or I would. But that's also something that's very valuable as a businesswoman to know how to navigate any partnership. You don't want everything to be like Devon and I, if it was all happy-go-lucky and that was the only thing I had in my life. Like that's not really a true example of, you know, what it takes to run a business. Not only just with a business partner, but with board members or investors. You always do need to learn how to, you know, be respectful of other people, their opinions, what they're wanting, and balance everything out. So there's pros and cons.
Having to be best friends. I think everyone's got this idea that you have to be best friends. And like you're lucky that you are in a business with your best friend, but actually not every part of that, you know, the landscape isn't always going to look like that. And that's okay. You can have a relationship and that you work really well in, but you don't have to have that expectation that you're going to be sailing off into the sunset and it's going to be lovely every day.
I think whatever form it comes in, it's just maintaining positivity.
And the respect.
Positivity and respect and just maintaining that feeling and that ethos is so important. And however you do that, it doesn't have to come in the form of being best friends, but it has to come in the form of maintaining that excitement about your business, always knowing, you know, bringing it back to what the original idea was. What are we really in this for? And I think that's why it's so important in this day and age to start a business that has meaning. And like you said, the way that we can empower women, not just through Monday, but also my other business, the Pilates class. It's something that is such a positive, reciprocal relationship that we have with our customer that really fulfills us truly. You know, our heart is so full every day knowing that we're like, you know, bringing a positive to someone's life.
Adding value.
Yeah. And if we just created a product just to create a product, when times get tough or, you know, we're having to navigate through all these different things you have to navigate through as a business, if that positivity isn't coming through for you mentally, physically, in the business in so many ways, things do go really wrong, you know, and it's like, it's not a good feeling and you have to be in it for the right reasons. And that's why, you know, my book, it's called Excessively Obsessed, because you really do need to be obsessed with what you do and you need to genuinely love it. And it just reverberates, like I said, through everything that you do and through every part of the business.
You can read that.
Yeah.
What I want to talk about you investing in others, because I know that you're, as well as you being passionate about your own beliefs and how you think you're going to change the world, you're really passionate about letting other people shine, which I think is so admirable and so brilliant. Let's talk about Pilates class.
Yeah.
And how did that come about?
Okay, so Jackie Kingswell was my trainer. just before COVID hit. And I've obviously trained and done Pilates everywhere, all over the world.
Yeah.
And I've worked with so many amazing trainers, and I personally just love and believe in Pilates so
I'm
much.
with you, girl.
It's
I'm with you.
amazing. And she was just the best trainer I'd ever had in my
Wow.
life. Her technique, just the way she explains things. She has this like balance between being this kind of fiery, inspiring Pilates teacher who you want to be, but then also being so grounded and so sweet and kind and like all of these other things. And so COVID hit, and she actually lost her job at the studio and was out of work. And she did an online Instagram session just for her clients that, you know, had been following her,
Right.
doing her classes. And I actually didn't think I would like it because I really enjoy going and doing in-person sessions with her. So I was kind of like reluctant, being like, okay, fine, I'll just do it. And then I literally did the class. I called her immediately after, and I was like, it felt like I was there with you.
Wow.
You are an amazing teacher. Her presence was just as good through, you know, the screen
Yeah.
as it was in person. And her background is actually being a professional dancer for her whole life. So I think she has a stage presence.
Okay,
And this
yeah.
ability to, like, I don't know, shine through still on a screen, which is so unique, because I think, you know, that's very hard to find. So I immediately just said, I think that we should, you know, do something together. I'd previously also started a fitness business with one of my exes, Body by Gilles, which did amazingly well as well. And so I kind of applied what I knew from having that business. Immediately, I wanted to launch it globally. I wanted it to be something, you know, we were in Australia at the time, but it really definitely was a combination of right time, right place, and both of us being extremely hard workers. So we launched it within a month, and, you know, everyone was kind of
that's
stuck
incredible.
at home. Yeah. And it helped a lot of people throughout COVID. So again, it's one of those businesses that we really take the approach of being very holistic. And I don't say that in a cliche way. I really mean, like, it is about seeing results, but it's not so driven just by the before and after. It's really more about just actually feeling good and finding a workout you genuinely like, because consistency is the key to seeing results, but also to just having something that you can do for the rest of your life that makes you feel good. And it is really hard to find a workout that you don't get sick of after a month, you know? And I think that Jackie's strong point is that the way that she teaches is something that you look forward to doing every day, and stepping on your mat and having that time with her. And she's so unique in that way. So we just created something that's like very welcoming to everyone, you know, no matter what your situation is, that people genuinely, like, people are obsessed with her. They're obsessed with her voice. Like, they meet her in person, they're like, oh my God, it's you from the screen. Like, I can't believe this is you now in person.
Well,
and like,
because she'll become such a part of everyone's daily routine.
every morning you're there with them, you know, and so they've become like really attached to her, and she has such a beautiful relationship with all of our members. So yeah, starting that was like very exciting, because it kind of goes back to that Bikini A beach lifestyle concept, where that beach lifestyle usually does come with this health and wellness and this like passion for just feeling good within yourself, you know, inside, outside, all those things. I find like that just that lifestyle really embodies all of those things.
Of course, they work sort of in line with each other, don't they?
Yeah.
Does it have sort of a different feeling of reward to help somebody that you can see such a talent in them, and to be able to help give them that opportunity? That must feel really rewarding for you.
Yeah, well, I'm big on people. You know, I invest in people. I don't invest in concepts. I think that, you know, Jackie's the type of person where I don't have to explain anything twice. And I immediately I knew I wanted to start a business with her before we started it.
Right.
Because I immediately recognized that she's a really switched on hard worker. When she says she's going to do something, she does it immediately. Like, a lot of people go, oh yeah, and then they put it on a list and they write it down and then come back a week later, or they may never do it, or like, you know. But when I see someone that's as like, you know, proactive as I am and has that same passion and that drive, I'm like, okay, we need to do
We're
something.
unstoppable together.
Yeah, we need
Yeah.
to do something. I don't know what. And I always just do feel like things come about and fall into place the way that they should. And for us, that's exactly what happened. I didn't even tell her, you know, before that moment that I wanted to start something with her, but then it just became so obvious. And I think that, like, you know, in this day and age with brands, it is important having a face of a brand can be like, you know, good for a business and then also a negative in so many ways, especially if you're looking to sell the business in the future and things like that. But for me, I really only want to be involved in businesses that have a face of, because I think that they take so much more care with the product or with the business itself, with the team. And I think it actually is good to have someone that is accountable for whatever happens with the business. You know, I think that it takes the level of care within the business to another level. But I also think that that human aspect of people falling in love with an individual is more important these days than someone just liking a product.
Yeah, and I think that's what the customer wants to see. You want to know who is at the front and center of the whatever that product is, right?
Yeah, and even a Joe Malone or, you know, Emma or even the Kardashians, anyone, any of these brands, most of the brands I love, Kosas, like they all are like female founded. I know who the owner is. They're beautiful people. I know that they really care about the product. You know,
and it gives you a different level of confidence in that brand that you're buying into. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Right, I want to do the rocket round now.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Put my tea down. I've got an empty cup. I love this bit, and I love it's so nice because everybody's outlook is so different. What are, do you believe, the non-negotiables for launching a business?
Well, we've spoken a lot today about, you know, that passion and that drive and that excitement. And I think the number one thing is being in it for the right reasons. Don't be in it because you want someone else's life. Don't be in it because you want to make X amount. Just be in it because it's something that you're so genuinely obsessed with and that you love. And then just work as hard as you possibly can. I just think you have to know that, and you have to know that you're going to have to make sacrifices. And so all of that goes hand in hand. When you genuinely love it, you are willing to make sacrifices, whatever those may be, because it's something that you love. So I think that's, for me, is the biggest thing. However it plays out from there, you know, that's all just part of the excitement and the wild ride of being an entrepreneur, but it has to start in the right place.
Okay, love that. When did you first realize that you truly launched?
Oh my God, the first day of Monday was pretty, like we really honestly had no idea if even one person would buy.
Right.
And we were in actually swim week at the time, and we had one intern that was helping us, and she was at our apartment with these, you know, ceiling high packed up boxes, and she just called us and went, oh my God, 100 orders have come through. I can't do this on my own. And we literally had to call one of Devon's friends from her college and be like, can you get over there and help her? And like, we just kind of did know from day one that, like, you know, it was something that people really wanted. We were very lucky to have that instant gratification, because for a lot of people that takes a lot of time to build. But for us, that momentum, and, you know, someone said to me, what's the best part of being successful? And my answer is always like, just actually having something that's a success, because when you have a product that is successful, it drives you to continue, you know, and that is not always how it is. Sometimes it can take you 5 years for your product to take off. So for us, what we've been the most lucky with is that instant gratification of people genuinely loving our brand and it being something that people were excited about. That's like the biggest gift we could have ever had.
But you've maintained it, and I think that's what is so special.
Luckily.
Well, credit to you guys. What do people usually seek your advice or help for?
Definitely anything related to owning a business, starting a business. And so many of my friends and family and followers, you know, have so many questions for me, which is why I wrote my book, because I was like, I've had so many of these talks and pep talks, and I'll, you know, build someone up, and then, you know, there's so many times that they just go away and do nothing with it. So I was like, I just need to write a book that I can hand to someone and go,
stop
read
ringing
this.
Me, I'm busy.
Read this. I actually don't have time, but I really want to help you, and I love you, and I get so excited and invested in what people are doing and their ideas, because I, like, you know, it's obviously takes me back to the beginning.
Of course,
and it's just such an exciting thing for people to even want your advice and be wanting to talk to you about it. So I like really get into it. So I was like, I can't just keep doing this. I'm just going to write the book. I can't talk about it on Instagram or on a story. Like I need to really dive into, you know, every single thought that when you're starting a business that you have, the silliest things, you know, like, how do I find a business partner? Should I have a contract with them? What about URLs? What about, you know, usernames? Like just little things, lawyers, accountants. What are all those initial little first steps that I didn't find any books that included?
Break it down.
Really broke down the basics particularly for female entrepreneurs in this day and age.
You've done very well. You've done very well with that. What brand do you wish that you'd founded?
Monday Swimwear. No, honestly, I am so about everything happening exactly how it should that I could never say I wish I founded any other brands than my own. I think that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. They are me, you know, they're a part of me, and there's many brands that I admire and love and I think are amazing brands, and particularly brands that do, you know, help women in some way and or just help people in general. But like,
Yeah.
honestly, Monday's the dream.
You've done
It's
it.
amazing.
You've
And so
done
is
it.
the Pilates class. And it's just like, I'm just so happy that I'd never wish for anything other than what I have.
That's a lovely answer. I like that. If you could choose one female figure as a mentor, past or present, who would it be?
I've been asked this before, and my answer to this is also, I never believe in really like choosing one person that I want to be my mentor. I've had so many amazing people that have come across my paths or I've come across theirs in my life. And I think it's really important to know that everyone you meet has something that they can add to your life.
Yeah.
And who I am as a person, I try to be a collection of all of my favorite things about all of my mentors in my life, everyone that's ever helped me, my mother, my father, my family, and I choose what are my favorite things about them, what is it that I love that is a part of who they are, and I try to make that a part of who I am, either personally or as a businesswoman. So it's so hard to answer that question because there's obviously so many people I admire, but I just think that you should pay attention to everyone in your life. And no matter how big or small, you never know, you know, those little weird things that people say that for some reason it implants into your brain forever and it becomes a part of, you know, who you are and what you believe in. And I don't think you can just really get that from one person.
Yeah.
Like, I think that it's
That's
important
smart.
to really look at everyone and anyone in this room, even you or anyone that I meet could be a mentor to me in some way.
Yeah.
So I always am just very like, just keep your ears open,
Yeah, keep your
learn
eyes
to sit
open.
back, listen, you know, take advice. Don't always be the one that's talking or giving the advice. Make sure that you're just really aware that anyone at any time could say something to you that could change the way you think forever.
Yeah, so right. So smart. If you could trade one of your current skills for a superpower that would help your business, what would it be and why?
Oh my God, what? I'd have to trade one.
This is the bit that everybody struggles
I'm
with.
like, I have to get
because
rid of
it's like,
something.
I like that. I want to keep that. But what do I want more of? What do you have in abundance that you could lose a little bit of because you've got so much that you would swap for something?
Maybe like ideas, because I have so many ideas that I
Right.
don't actually need as many as I have.
Not
I
enough
could
time.
probably like chill out a bit there. And then I think my superpower would have to be being in multiple places at once.
Yeah.
Like
you've
if-
got a lot of time zones to continue.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And just like all the things that we do as being the face of the brand and influencers and having multiple brands and being the CEO of those brands, if I could have like 4 of me or just be in multiple places at once, it
Yeah,
would really help
yeah.
me, because I care so much about everyone in our team and I want to be able to give everyone, you know, so much love and individualized attention, but at some point you have to let go and you have to bring in other people
Yes.
that can help with that. But like, that is hard to let go of. So if I could just have more of me.
More of you. That'd be good. So you could be everywhere.
That
You
would
could be
be
in every
fantastic.
territory at once.
Yeah.
There you go. Now I want you to leave a tip, because I love this part, because we've been getting some real tangible advice from our guests. If you could give a listener one piece of advice to a lady looking to launch, what would you say?
I would probably say to really trust your intuition and really listen to yourself and try not to allow, you know, looking at what other people do. You know, you always want to listen, like I said, but you do have to pick and choose what you want to be a part of your belief system or your business or your intuition. And I think that a lot of people, when they don't have the Devon that's building them up and they don't have the situation that I have, they can stray away from what their intuition is. And I think that a big part of what makes our business so successful is that we've just had the freedom and ability to follow our intuition. So I
Right.
think you should listen to that voice inside your head. You should trust. I think that businesses these days do have to be very unique to survive. I think that you constantly have to be doing something that's different to someone else. And I try as much as I can not to even look at what our competitors are doing, because I want to stay in my lane and just trust what it is that feels right for our business. So I think women are very powerful, intuitive people. And I think that being a businesswoman, you almost have to take that to another level, and you have to really trust your intuition and know that just because something doesn't work out, it's not because your intuition was wrong. It was because you needed to learn a lesson, or you needed to, you always have to figure out what works and what doesn't. So don't ever allow something not working out to affect your belief in your own intuition.
That's very good advice. And do you know what? Women have that in abundance. Like we do.
When
I think of me and my husband, we'll have a conversation. I'm like, I've just got this gut feeling that something isn't right with this. And he's like, what are you talking about?
They think you're like crazy. Yeah.
You're fine. You're being paranoid. And then like a few weeks later, he'll be like, you were right about it.
I know. Yeah. It's a thing.
I know. It's a thing. And we have it.
It is a very valuable thing to have in business, especially because, we don't have the ball to tell us the future. We don't have that, no one can tell you what's going to happen next. And you do have to kind of navigate that on your own. And it can, it's a lot of pressure for us as women in business.
You've got to trust it.
You just have to go with the flow. And my favorite analogy that I talk about in my book is I always look at my life and my business as a flowing river. And I'm a very visual person. So I imagine myself flowing down a river. And sometimes when everything's going wrong, I realize that I'm clinging onto a boulder and I'm fighting against the current, and I'm trying so hard not to go with the things that, I should be going with, and the signs that have come up along the way. And you can have all these beliefs and you can be this person, but you have to always check in with yourself and revisit and make sure, am I actually doing the things? Am I practicing what I preach?
Right.
Am I doing those things? And we all fall off sometimes. You have to check back in. You have to just go with the flow and really that intuition, that feeling. And that's the state I thrive in. So just checking back in and making sure that you are doing all those things that you believe in. You're there for the right reasons. You're obsessed with what you're doing. And if you're not, never be afraid. The amount of businesses I've started and closed down within a second.
You can walk away.
You can walk away.
Have that pride.
It's just, and the first business may not be the one. So you do have to really be like open to change, be intuitive, go with the flow, and not be hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Just I've made so many mistakes, but for me, they were all lessons, and they all add to my portfolio of all the things that as a businesswoman I know and that I've dealt with, and it makes you more and more knowledgeable the more that you experience and go through. So you can never look at those. Like I said, your health is all that matters. Your loved ones, their health, your health, that's a problem that, we don't have control over if you don't take care of it. And that's the only thing for me that I truly, care about. The business, I'm like, that's all about being proactive, productive, positive, maintaining the momentum and all of those things. You will navigate it. It will all work out in the end how it's supposed to. So just be like gentle on yourself, be intuitive, be all of those things that are what make women so amazing, but in business.
Yes, you're so right, because we don't do that enough. You can let outside noise distract you, but actually going with your gut is always really important. Before we finish, I am obsessed with knowing how our guests spend their lunch hour. So I'm so curious. We talk about ladies who launch. I want to know about ladies who lunch. What do you order? Where are you? Where do you have it? How does Tasha's lunch look?
I order it to my desk, and
you do? Okay.
I am working during lunch. It's very, very rare. If I'm traveling and I'm, with Devon or something traveling, we might sit at lunch, but I am very guilty of not taking that time to chill. It's usually a lunch meeting or I'm working throughout it. But one thing that's a non-negotiable for me to balance that out is around 3:00 every single day, I do a 15-minute meditation.
Oh, nice.
I'm a big believer of bringing, down your nervous system and activating your parasympathetic nervous system. And I think that with our hormones, we're running up here on that adrenaline and everything all day long. And it's very important at some point in the day to bring everything down and, just like actually go down to zero at some point. And it's just all the studies around whether you have a nap or a meditation or whatever you do, you need to do nothing for 10 or 15 minutes at some point every day. And that
that's a
serves me.
non-negotiable.
That serves me more than like you taking a break at lunch,
Yes.
you know, or anything like that. So I'm guilty of like, yeah.
And what would you have at your desk? What's your go-to order?
In
You know,
LA,
if you
in
don't
my
want to think
office.
about it and you just think, just have lunch. You know, the
Oh, in
choice that you
LA,
don't
in
wanna
my
make.
office, it's zinc. It's this delicious salad I have that's like a shrimp sriracha
Ooh.
rocket parmesan salad.
Oh, wow.
It's delicious. I'm big on the like shaking the salad, having this every day. It's a salad. I'm a salad girl.
Do you know what? Everybody is.
Yeah.
I've really noticed that. We had like a couple of other little bits, but everybody just wants something light that they can have on the go.
Yeah.
Which means they can leave the office a bit earlier.
And
rather
everyone
than
has
taking
their
the break.
go-to, right? Like we eat it like 3 times a week.
Yeah. Mine is a spicy tuna from Joe and the Juice. That's
Yum.
become like
Yum.
Yeah.
I love that sandwich they have there. That's
Yeah.
like a tuna sandwich thing.
And they call it a tuna cardo.
So good.
And then I have the one with the jalapeno in, and it's like
Delicious.
Yeah. That's just if I'm lazy. I
Yeah.
don't think about it and I'm at the desk.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, and
I've
thank you so
absolutely
much
loved
for
it.
creating this podcast to inspire women. And, you know, I think that this is all something that we need to do more of, and I'm glad that that's the direction everyone's going in,
Me
because
too.
it is so beautiful and fun and empowering, and like I think it can be so fun and positive, and we just need to keep it light and, you know, keep lifting one another up, but keep it light at the same time.
Exactly
And
that.
yeah, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Don't forget to follow us on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts to make sure you don't miss out, because next week we're going to be meeting another incredible lady who launched. If, like me, you're a watcher, follow us on YouTube and don't forget to like and subscribe.